line is so bad in the office today. Okay, done. Right, entire window. Okay. Okay. So when we talk about reading the introduction and the um, you know um, and even the last part of the paragraph, okay, will actually give us a little bit of more idea in terms of the passage itself. So some of the thing you can do is that you try to read first or two lines of the first paragraph, and then look at the first and last sentence of each paragraph, just to see what is the topic sentence, what are the ideas that they're actually referring, and so on. You can also refer to italicized and bold words, because this could actually give us a little bit of hint on the important ideas of the passage. Okay, so for example, look at this one. Okay, so by having a glance, all right, it means when we skim, we understand it's about to break up with your breakout, isn't it? All right, so breakout, obviously we know what is it. All right, these are skin care problem, right? Skin problems, all right, acne and so on. So then you read the first paragraph. Okay, look at this one. Acne is in the right passage, isn't a rite of passage many people would like to think about. Yes, adolescence brings it with raging hormones that include physical changes and facial breakouts. But there are ways to mitigate the problem. So this is something that is going to be explained throughout the paragraph, isn't it? So you try to look at the second paragraph. Okay, we can see the word, you may not be able to control your hormones. So probably this is something about hormones. Okay, and then she says, well, hormones plays a role in acne. All right. Okay, some habits. Okay, we can see, and then we can see here soap, something about soap. So she also emphasized facial cleanliness. So we know that this paragraph is probably going to talk about cleanliness. All right, and then this one is talking about what kind of factors, right, that actually um encourages acne. All right, so then we can see over here, probably always cleanse in an upward motion. We know it's about how you can actually keep your skin clean. So by by skimming a passage, all right, in a very brief manner, provides you the space and avenue for you to understand beforehand, beforehand in prior to reading the passage in detail. Okay, some students may tell me, well, madam, I usually read the questions first, right? Yeah, that's a fantastic technique. I always tell my students, try to read, in a glance, just go through the questions, because it helps to, get your mood set before you actually read the passage. All right, but some students do not like to read the question. Instead, they like to focus on the passage first. So any method that works for you is fine. Okay, so if you're going to read the passage first, you can use these method, skimming first, then you move along to scanning. So scanning is actually because you are finding certain information in there. All right, and you are trying to actually, what you're trying to find answers for the questions in your scanning. All right, and when you scan, you're actually trying to read word by word, and then you try to actually, not word by word as in the whole passage, that means you selectively capture, all right, the paragraph, so that you are able to answer the question. Okay, all right, so let's look at this one, scanning through the recipe to find the answers to the questions, right? So this is the quiz you don't have to do, right? This is just to give you a little bit of hint, right? So when you're going to scan, you will probably look into each of these paragraphs and see, all right, in detail. Okay, not read word by word, but you try to capture, okay, the information in this paragraph, so that you can actually answer the questions. Okay, right. Hmm. So you can skim to find out what is all about. That means a general, overview. Okay, or you can actually scan, because you're trying to find important information. All right. So for you to scan, you need to make sure that you are eyeing out on important details. Okay, and usually these are bold, italicized, and usually subheadings can also tell us a lot of information. Okay, right. And then moving along, identify main idea and supporting idea. All right. So I will not read this. You can read about it later. All right. But what I'm trying to say here is that the main idea, okay, usually in every paragraph that you're going to read, okay, there would be a main idea. That means a topic sentence. Okay, in another word, okay, the topic sentence usually exists either in the first line of the paragraph or the last line of the paragraph of each paragraph I'm talking about. Okay, and this this topic sentence or main idea, all right, is the main issue the whole paragraph is actually about. Okay, and then based on that you have the supporting detail. This is where there would be explanation, reasons, evidence, and so on. These are all considered as supporting detail. All right, so as I said, right, sometimes you can actually find it in the first part of the paragraph, or the last part of the paragraph. Of course, it won't be a specific way for me to say that it will be either on the first or last part. It can even be in the middle, like what you actually see over here. So which means that when you read, you should be able, all right, to tackle what is this passage is all about. Then you will know what is the main idea. Of course, some of the key signal words would be like one of the issue, all right, or this is because, all right, or firstly, you see these linkers which will actually tell us what is the passage all about. Okay, right. Supporting details are usually examples, all right, explanations, all right, definitions, all right, statistics, evidence, research. All of this comes under supporting details. In fact, they are actually important because without supporting detail, the main idea cannot stand, isn't it? You won't be able to make sense of what the author is trying to say. So that is why a supporting detail is important. I mean, supporting details in a paragraph is important. All right. Now look at this one. A match the statements with the answer. Why did I prepare this? Huh? Oh, okay, okay, okay. So we have a topic sentence, all right? That means the main idea, and then we have these the main idea and the supporting detail. All right, okay. So let's look at the first one. Yeah, workplace. All right, bullying. I'm sorry. Workplace. Oh God, what did I do? Workplace bullying is similar to other forms of Bullying. Examples of workplace bullying are isolating someone socially, physically abusing, purposefully giving wrong information, and assigning unreasonable workload. All right. Okay. Wait. Something is wrong with this one that I prepared. Did I come up with? Hmm. Okay, ignore this. I'm not sure why I put in here. Please, I'm so sorry. I think I forgot to include the second part. Hmm. Yeah, right. I forgot to include the second part. That is why it's stagnant there. Okay, right. Sorry about that. Ignore that. Okay. Next, when we are reading, okay, especially reading a passage, right? And when you're dealing with supporting details, you must be able to distinguish between facts and opinion. Why? All right, because that will actually tell you that facts are usually evidence based. All right, they're usually figures that are valid. On the other hand, opinions, they are merely point of view, which means that it can be true or it can be untrue. Okay, and usually opinions are based on personal emotion, all right, personal belief and judgment and so on. So this is why, all right, trying by understanding whether it's a fact or opinion will help you to understand, all right, the intention and purpose of the author. All right, remember, sometimes when the author is trying to imply certain thing, you need to negotiate the message that's being said in the paragraph, right? So by understanding whether it's a fact or opinion will help you to understand, will help you to tackle these type of questions. Okay, and contextual clues. All right, these are words, okay, or phrases that you usually find in the paragraphs, okay, that will actually tell us a bit on certain words which are unfamiliar with. Usually these words are bold, all right, or italicized. So when they ask you to find the meaning of these words, what you can do is that you try to actually look for contextual clues, like look at the word, okay, and then see whether there are any other words that would actually give us a little bit of hint on what is this all about. All right. So definition clue, all right, is usually based on the meaning. Okay. Example, all right. Example clue is usually the author starts by saying, for example, for instance, and so on. Contrast clue, all right, that means the opposite side of argument, all right, and they use sequence connectors like however, although, nevertheless, to actually signal the opposite argument, all right. And inference is more for explanation. This is where they talk about because, all right, since, and I mean they use words like because, since, all right, to explain, all right, the reason behind the behind the phrase or word and so on, right. And experience, they try to relate back to the history, okay, as well as prior experience. So these are some of the techniques you can actually find, that you will actually come across when you're trying to find the contextual clue of a word or a phrase, okay. And sometimes, all right, when you're trying to answer especially difficult questions, you would realize that there are, everything is actually mentioned over in the passage. So this is where you need to identify whether it's relevant or irrelevant. Okay. And signal words, we cannot run away. All right. Signal words tell us whether it's the start of a new idea, or whether it's a contrasting idea, or whether it's an example, or whether they're trying to give us a little bit of, statistics, or is it going to be a conclusion and so on. See, these are signal words, okay, linkers as well as sequence connectors. If there's a continuation, you will see words like because, moreover, furthermore, all right, these are continuation words. And then if there's a change of idea, that means contrasting idea, like although, okay, however, in spite of, all right, while, nevertheless, on the other hand. So these are signal words that will actually tell us the other side of the argument, all right. That means that's a contrast, or there's a change in the idea. And let's say if you're going to talk about example, all right, you will probably use words like for example, for instance, such as, okay. And cause or result, that means you want to talk about something triggers something, right? Because, for, consequently, therefore, okay. And then conclusion, obviously, in conclusion, in nutshell, in short, all right, hence and so on, okay. So you should be able to also understand what is actually being said in the paragraph, okay, because this is why the technique of making inference, okay, is important. Before we read a passage, okay, I am very sure that let's say if you know about the topic, all right, you probably already have a preconceived thought or notion about the topic. So that is your prior knowledge or prior experience and so on, right? And usually when you read these, that will actually affect the way how you actually view the passage, all right. And this is also something that you need to consider. That means you don't want to have too much of your opinion affect, that might actually affect the way how you read the passage. Okay, look at this one. Danny and Amy were almost done taking turns to choose their friends to be on their team. It was Danny's turn to choose, and Lucy was the only one left. So Danny said, Lucy. So there is, um, so 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 the inference is that, um, it could be like, because she was the only one left, right? And then when Lucy was left, when he said Lucy, all right, so it could be like Lucy may not be good to be on any team, all right, and at the same time, Lucy was the only person yet to be chosen by a team. So that is a clue that we have, right? Because there was no one else left. So what we can understand is that, um, she was probably not a good fit to be in any team. Okay, let's look at this one. Hannah walks into the school completely soaked and it's raining. So the inference we could make is that she probably didn't bring an umbrella, isn't it? And at the same time, she's a determined student, all right? Okay, because she wants to go to school in spite of the heavy downpour, right? Ryan ate the pasta and made a disgusted face, so probably it tasted horrible, okay? Or he doesn't like pastas, right? So John hears his post box closing, so probably someone dropped a mail, okay? Or someone is probably checking his mail, right? Okay, so that's how we actually make inference. That means trying to understand what is the explanation behind the sentence. So more of like inferencing, where you're trying to understand the implied meaning as well. Yeah, there you go. The postman arrived with a mail. So drawing conclusion is based on, what you have read, what has been presented in the reading, okay? And of course, when you're trying to draw conclusion, you need to be neutral, because you want to validate based on what is being written in the passage, right? And by making inferences will actually help you draw a conclusion, okay? And this will actually help you understand the passage in whole. Okay, so look at this example. Mm. We have dinner with friends at a restaurant, and the next morning all of us suffer stomach cramps and nausea. So probably, something was wrong with the food we had eaten. So that's how you try to make inference. So that the inference is that, um, you know, something is wrong with the food they had, right? Okay. So probably the conclusion is that we will probably conclude something is wrong with the food we had eaten. So the inference is that they had food poisoning. So based on the food poisoning, how did they have food poisoning? Because there was something wrong with the food they had consumed. All right. Okay. Any questions before we try a very quick practice? Oh, my battery is low. Any questions pertaining to what I just shared with you, all of you today? Can't hear, my dear. Yeah, okay, so far none. Okay, let's try a practice, okay? All right. Can you please look for your book? Okay. I want you to turn to page 62. All right, so please turn to page 62 of your book. I will share later, but I'm going to give you about 15 minutes, all right, 10 to 15 minutes. Let's take 15 minutes for you to study, okay, for you to study in depth of the passage, okay? And I want you to, when you're going to read, okay, I want you to also identify the main idea in each passage, okay? Can we take about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes? So once you're done, if you still have time, you can actually look at the questions, okay? But if not, then we will discuss, all right, here. Okay, let's take about 15 minutes. It's 2:44 now, so I will assume we meet again at about 2:50 lah, okay? Make it, what am I doing? Sorry. That's just 15 minutes. Let's take a meet at 3. Okay, all right. Okay, we will meet at 3 to discuss about the passage. Okay, don't leave the meet session, but you can like mute yourself. I mean, you're already muted in your camera is off though. So yeah, we will talk about the passage in 15 minutes time. Hello? Hi? Right. Okay, just a moment. Okay, so I believe that you have finished reading, all right, this paragraph. Okay, it's a very simple paragraph that talks about the reef, isn't it? Or coral reef, right? The corals. So, in short, okay, let me just call upon randomly. In short, I just want you to tell me in few words or few sentences, okay, what is this passage all about? Yeah, okay. What about Ilona? Elona, are you there? Elona, can you
Yes, madam.
hi? Can you just tell me in short?
Sorry,
Um,
can you hear me?
yeah, I can. I can. Can you tell me in short what is this passage is all about?
Um, in my opinion, I think it talks about how the climate change and the global um, issue affects on the reef, the coral reef.
Mm-hmm. Hold on, hold on. I okay. It's about coral reef, right? Okay. Um. Okay. What else is discussed over here? Can you hear me? My line is rather poor. I have student texting telling cannot hear. Can you all hear me? Hello?
Yes, madam.
Can someone please respond?
Yes,
Okay.
madam, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, madam.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Ilona. All right. What about Tressa? Tressa, what's your take on the paragraph?
I think it's talking about how climate change affect coral reef
Mm-hmm.
lives
Mm-hmm. It also
and
talks
all
about
of
other
the
classes, right? Yeah. All right.
yeah,
But it's mostly
all of
about yes, but it's
the
mostly revolving on the climate, the weather, and so on.
yeah.
Good. All right. Thank you very much. So I think that most of you actually understand, all right, based on what you have read, based on even just studying, all right. The first paragraph, we will actually know that this is about the coral reef, right? And then when you go on, when you try to skim through, you will actually see in the second paragraph, okay, is actually highlighting here the topic sentence is about climate change. And then when you go on onto the third paragraph, again, they talk about climate change. The fourth paragraph, they talk about the earth residue, all right. The fifth, they talk about the air pollution, right? Okay, and then they talk about climate change again in sixth paragraph, okay, what happens, okay, what happens to because of this climate change, how does it affect these reefs, all right, based on temperature, all right. And then we also talk about the rising sea levels and how this is actually detrimental to coral reefs and so on, yeah. And then in the final paragraph we can see that people, all right, what are people doing and what should be done, okay, to actually protect and preserve this coral reefs, okay. So this is one way of doing it. That means you try to read the passage, okay, and then you try to attempt the questions. Or the other way around, you can always just glance through the questions first and then you read the passage, okay. But if you want to apply the technique that I just taught you today, skimming, scanning, inferencing, trying to identify the main idea, the supporting details, and so on, so you're supposed to read the passage first, okay. All right. So for today, what I want you to do is that, all right, I want you to attempt, okay, practice one. Okay, please take that. All right, please take note in your book. All right, I want you to complete practice one. Okay, practice two. Okay, and then practice three and practice four. Yeah. Yeah, practice four. You don't have to do practice five, all right? So I want you to do all of this practice after this, okay? So you still have about 2 hours of the class, all right? Just do it in your book, all right? And next week we will discuss the answers, okay? Do you have any questions?
No.
None so
Okay,
far.
very good. So that's actually practice one, okay? Practice 1 to 4. All right, so do this. Okay, for practice 1 and 2, you try to compare which technique works for you. Okay, for practice 1 and 2, what you do is that you try to read the passage first. You try to apply the technique that we just covered today. And for practice 3 and 4, you try reading the questions first and then you read the passage. And then once we discuss the answers, maybe next week, then you can actually do a bit of comparison which particular technique works for you. Not all the technique, sorry, the technique does not fit everyone. Okay, so each of us are different. Like for me personally, I usually read the questions first and then I go on looking at the passage. But for some of them, they got to read the passage first, understand what is this all about, and then only they go to questions. Okay, so try this method, or you can even swap and do the other way around, any which is convenient for you, and then you're going to do a bit of evaluation which technique works for you. Okay, any other questions? No question, huh? All right. I'm sorry. So in that case, oh God, where are you people? Sorry. Hold on. I'll just message this. Can I call you later? Right. Okay. So if there are no other questions, I will upload the material that I just covered for today, all right, as PDF in Google Classroom. And you will also get a glimpse of our today's lecture in Google Classroom. Okay, all right. So if there are no other questions, right, there are no other questions, I'll see you again next week. And then we will also try to discuss on the segregation for our speaking task. All right, we're gonna start I think sooner than the date. Okay, if there are no other questions, thank you so much for joining me. Have a good weekend. Have a good evening, everyone. It's not weekend yet. Take
Thank
care.
you, madam.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
madam.
Welcome.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you,
madam.
madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Welcome.